Hey everyone, happy Wednesday. Welcome to Wednesday Wisdom with me, Alyssa Austin, founder of Poison Professional. Today, or tonight, I should say, depending on where you live, I want to talk about a subject that's very near and dear to my heart, and a subject that I was actually talking with a close friend about at lunch today, my friend Olivia, who also is an actor. Um, and I was sharing with her my story of how I really took the leap and became an entrepreneur. And as most of you guys know, this happened fairly recently. In 2018, around August, I officially made the shift and committed to full-time entrepreneurship. But really looking back, there were a lot of signs that if I had known at the time that they were indicating that maybe I should pursue entrepreneurship full-time, maybe I could have made that leap sooner. And maybe I could have started feeling like I was really living my purpose and living authentically sooner. So the point of today's broadcast is to share some signs that I, now looking back, can recognize as maybe being indicative of maybe entrepreneurship is the right path for me, or maybe it's the right path for you, which is why I want to share them. So here are 5 specific signs and realizations that you can look to in yourself to know if you are meant to be an entrepreneur too. First one is, are you creative? So do you love thinking big? Do you sometimes have trouble falling asleep at night because you have so many ideas running through your head and you're constantly writing stuff down, or maybe you're always buying a new web domain because you're like, oh, that would be a good idea and I want to make sure that I snatch up that domain name before anyone else can grab it, and you get excited. Maybe you're a little bit impulsive. If you are constantly running on idea mode, then you may be well suited to become an entrepreneur. One of the great things about working for yourself is that you truly are free to create whatever you want. You have total creative control over your brand, your service, or your product, your business, how you spend your time. So if you thrive in creative settings and you feel like you constantly are coming up with ideas for businesses, and you maybe are constrained by other things that are holding you back from pursuing those creative ideas, then maybe you are meant to be an entrepreneur. The second sign, and this is a little bit more straightforward, is maybe you're meant to be an entrepreneur if you like doing things on your own terms. Entrepreneurs are by nature very independent people. So you have to be able to start and run your own business if you're an entrepreneur. So you pretty much have to be very independent. And if you find that you constantly have a certain way that you like to do things, whether it's the way that you make your daily to-do list, or the work hours that you like to observe, or the way that you like to work as the day goes on, and maybe you don't like it when someone else tries to tell you to do things a different way, and you find that that's happening over and over and over again. And maybe you find yourself thinking, oh, I could have done that better, or I know there's a better system, I know there's a better way to do this. Then it's pretty safe to assume that you would enjoy or even thrive as an entrepreneur. The third way to know that you are maybe meant to be an entrepreneur is you're self-motivated. So when you're an entrepreneur, you are fully in charge of your time and your business. And this is great. But what is not great, though, is unlike an office job or a standard job where you show up and you get paid for the time you spend at work, no matter what you're doing, as an entrepreneur, you really only get paid when you're putting in work. Whether it's selling your own products or services, partnering up with other people, or doing the work initially to set up those evergreen sources that will, eventually run on their own, that won't require you to be so hands-on all the time. The bottom line is the same. Your business as an entrepreneur doesn't work unless you do. And that means that you have to be incredibly, incredibly self-motivated to be an entrepreneur. Off days are okay, days where you kind of take your foot off the pedal and maybe take, some me time, some time for self-care, vacation. That's okay, and you certainly have more time to do that when you're not in an office job or working for someone else. But those days can't happen all the time, especially at first when you're really getting things set up and cranking in the early stages. So being self-motivated and being a real self-starter is a crucial, crucial quality of every entrepreneur. A fourth sign that maybe you're meant to be an entrepreneur, and this one is a little bit more personal, is maybe you've experienced a moment of clarity. And like I said, this is a personal anecdote, but I'm hopeful that sharing it will resonate with someone who's watching right now or who's watching later on. So At my last agency job, before I made that full-time leap to entrepreneurship, I experienced a defining moment of clarity that in many ways was kind of like the linchpin that made it all happen for me. It was the final straw, so to speak. So I had been brought on board this marketing agency specifically to help a new client in the education space develop her online courses, build out her inbound marketing, and grow her email list and her online presence, which was a specialty that I had developed over the past few years working for other big personal development brands like Brian Tracy International and Jack Canfield and other people who I've mentioned before. So I developed a great relationship with this client who was whip smart, super funny, and motivated as hell to help other people. Her brand was actually, she was a psychologist, and her goal of her brand was to help specifically expectant mothers and new moms be able to confidently parent their children by teaching them about the psychological development of newborns and fundamental needs of children and just equipping them for success. And we got along great, and I began to write her emails and some of her content and build her sales funnels. And one day she was looking at my stuff and she was like, wow, you are really nailing my voice. And that made me realize that the reason that I was nailing her voice was because I didn't have to alter my own voice that much. I had a lot in common with this woman who wanted to help other people and build programs and a following and an online brand. So it came very natural to me to write her emails and to help her with her sales funnel. And at that moment, it was like a light bulb went off in my head, and I heard a voice inside me say, I should be doing this for myself. You know, what I was helping this client with was exactly what I could see myself doing, what I had been doing for other people for years. Building their online programs, building their email funnels, building their online presence, building that consistent lead generation, and setting up an evergreen marketing system that just kind of runs on its own time and time again. And I knew the process, I knew the tools, what I was building for her. I was like, oh, I could use this, I could use this. This is the exact setup that I could use. I know exactly how I could do it. I just needed the perfect business idea. I needed to discover my reason for being, or my purpose, which I did through a lot of self-discovery and a lot of work, a lot of which I share in my book that was recently published, 35 Days of Confidence, if you want to go through that same process, where I kind of document where I started with self-discovery and how that helped me identify my unique talents and passions and ultimately realize my purpose, which I am so happy to say that I'm living now. And as soon as all this information became clear to me, I knew that I was ready to quit my 9-to-5 and dive headfirst in my own business. I couldn't stand to wait any longer to fulfill my purpose. You know, everything in my body was saying, you have to go, you have to work on this. Being at this day job is wrong. And it just, I knew that it was the right move for me. So that was my moment of clarity. And maybe you have experienced something like that, and maybe you've listened to it and you're now on a different path. Maybe you've experienced something like that and you're like, oh, it's scary, like that's too much for me right now. So you're still kind of in limbo land. That's fine too. And maybe you haven't experienced anything like this yet. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. Like I said, this is a personal anecdote. So whether or not something like this happens to you, the lesson is to just constantly be really tuned into how you're feeling and, trusting your gut and listening to your intuition, because that's another incredibly important quality to have as an entrepreneur. The last quality that is indicative that maybe you're meant to be an entrepreneur is a special one. And it's an important realization to have. And once you have it, your life will never be the same. And this is another one that I've experienced personally too. So you might be meant to be an entrepreneur if you feel deep down like you are destined for something greater. So looking back, the true defining moment that helped me discern my path to entrepreneurship was just this deeper feeling that I was destined to do something more, that I had a greater purpose to fulfill. And especially after I started working with the success guru, Jack Canfield, who's co-author of the Chicken Soup for the Soul books, also the author of The Success Principles, which is a great book. After reading The Success Principles, I became obsessed with this idea of purpose, which is the unique motivation that every person has to make a positive impact on the world by using their specific blend of talents, strengths, gifts, passions, service, all things that I've talked about before. So for me, I knew I was doing good work, more or less at the places that I worked at these marketing agencies and getting good results and, maybe working with brands that were making an impact. But what difference was I really making? Who was I helping? How was I making the world a better place? And as soon as I latched onto this idea of purpose, I couldn't shake it. And I had to figure out what mine was. And I probably was so annoying to my husband, Mike, at the time, because I would just be like, Mom, like, what's my purpose though? Like, what am I meant to do? And he's very patient and a great listener. So he bore with me through all that, and he's still here. But I couldn't find a good answer to these questions until I had that moment of clarity that I just talked about, where I went through that self-discovery process and I realized that then my special gifts and my talents and my strengths, and looking back everything that I've done in my life that had prepared me for my purpose, which was, helping other women, helping to empower and equip other women for confidence and success. When I had that moment of clarity, I knew immediately how I was meant to serve others using my talents and my skills and my passions. And that's what I felt that I was called to do. I was destined for something greater, to make that impact in helping others. And as soon as you have that realization too, that you have a deep desire to help and to serve others, it's really hard to keep that voice quiet, because all great businesses come from a place of service. I've listened to a lot of information on this lately, one of which I should share in this group, and I will soon. If I don't, somebody remind me. But, really the point of working is to create a product or service that people need. And the best way to do that is to originate from a place of service, where you're truly acting with good intentions, not just to make money, but to help other people. And when you help other people, you are successful. And when you are successful, then you make money. It's not the other way around. You're not successful because you make money. You are making money because you're successful, because you're coming from a place of service. So that's the end of my success and purpose tangent there. But, those are 5 ways that I've looked back and reflected on as being signs and moments that pointed for me towards a path of entrepreneurship. And, the name of this video is, how to know if you're meant to be an entrepreneur. But at the end of the day, in today's day and age, anyone can be an entrepreneur. There are so many opportunities available to you to start your own business and to make money, whether it's a side hustle or a full-time hustle where you go all in like I did recently. Everything is available to you if you put in the work. And like I mentioned before, I truly, truly believe that every person in the world has a unique blend of things that they're good at, things that come natural to them, skills that they've developed, services that they can provide, natural talents and strengths, and things that they're passionate about, that they come together for you in a unique way that no one else has. And that's your gift. And it is your responsibility to discover what that gift is, and then to take it and share it with the world as your purpose, to come from a place of service, to help others, and to use these gifts that you've been given to make an impact. And when you do that, the feeling is like nothing else. It's the source of true fulfillment and happiness in life. And that's what I want for everyone, which is why I started my business and this video and this group and my website, Poison Professional. So this is obviously a topic that I feel very, very passionate about, and I want to help you guys do it. So right now I'm actually working on a very top secret project that I'm hopeful to get out there soon and help people do this exact thing. But in the meantime, I have a ton of resources that I would love for you guys to check out to help you on this journey. One of them is a Quit Your 9-to-5 Jumpstart Guide, which is a free ebook. And I'm going to put that in the comments right after this video. It's got some great steps for helping you jumpstart your path to entrepreneurship and figure out how to make that leap from 9 to 5 to free time. So I will leave that in the comments. And I thank you guys for tuning in, whether you're watching this live or whether you're watching it later. And I hope it was helpful. And I'll talk to you soon.